Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Our next guest is someone that I've known since probably 1965, going back to Berkeley and a lot of things going on in those days. The one and only Nancy Kurshan. And she has a great new book out called Levitating the Pentagon and Other Uplifting Stories. And it actually comes out on the 24th of this month of March. It may be a little later. Some places it may be a little earlier, but you can get the book, and it is full of history of what went on in the New Left and all the way up into almost to today. So let's start off. Hello, first of all, Nancy. How are you?
Hi, Mike. I'm fine. Happy to be here.
You know, I was reading your book, looking at different chapters, and for the younger people who might be listening or viewing, tell us what a red diaper baby is and a little bit of what you got from being a red diaper baby.
Okay, going way back to the beginning there.
Sure.
Red diaper babies are, I'm still alive, children of parents who were either in the Communist Party or other left organizations of the 30s, 40s, 50s. And my mom was a communist who raised money for the Spanish Republican resistance in Spain, which preceded World War II. And she raised money on the boardwalk. And my uncle, I just had a lot of family members who were part of the communist movement and other progressive movements. And I have
a question. Yeah. A question for both you and my co-host Euan today. What are they calling the kids of New Left activists? I mean, what do I call my kid Hal?
What color diaper? That's
Anyhow,
a good question.
Tell us a little bit about the book. You and a number of other people that we all know in common are. You've produced a book. Others are working on books. There are a few out of people. And while, we used to be critical of the old left in a lot of ways, we certainly learned a lot. And I think that people who read your book, who are active today, may take a few hints from things that went down beforehand. But tell us, so what led you to write the book? And then I want to get into the Levitating the Pentagon story.
Okay, so, I wrote the book originally for my kids. In my head, I was just leaving something, and I now have 2 grandkids, and I'm happy to have the book because I can't tell them right now about it. My 5-year-old won't grasp it, although he has been making no king signs because he knows what kings are. But and then I had a wonderful husband who passed away 11 years ago, and he really encouraged me to think about publishing it. And it's been ready to be published for years, but I had a lot of resistance about it. It came close with with a university press, and then it got peer reviewed, and they didn't like it. And I think part of it were good suggestions, and part of it were political problems. But now it's been published, and so I think it's coming out at a great time. I'm really anxious and eager because I have a platform to talk about the importance of resistance today. And that's what I'm really here to encourage people to do.
Well, it got published by Three Rooms Press, and they reached out to me, wanted to know if we wanted a copy. We eventually got 2 copies, and Euan and I both have one. So, Levitating the Pentagon. I wasn't there, but I know people who were there. And why don't you share a little bit about how you did it? How you got it? How high did you get it, et cetera?
Okay, yeah. We always say we got it a few feet off the ground, enough to let the evil spirits some of the evil spirits out, but not high enough. So we have a lot of work still to do. It came out of, I don't know, a group of people from California moved to New York to help build the anti-war movement. We were invited by Dave Dellinger to come. Dave Dellinger was a pacifist, a fabulous pacifist who was very active in the anti-war movement. He wanted us to help instill a youthful energy into the anti-war movement. And so we came to do that. And he hired us to work on this demonstration at the Pentagon in the fall of '67. But we met all these like countercultural people when we were in New York. And we were already part of the counterculture in California a bit. But when we came to New York, we met all these people like Abby Hoffman and Paul Krasner, Allen Ginsberg, and the Fugs, Ed Sanders. And we wanted to do something a little different. So, and I think it was Ed Sanders who thought about levitating the Pentagon, which was some medieval idea. But the truth is, while I was part of that levitation, I don't remember a whole lot about it. I don't know if I was smoking.
That happens.
I don't think so, but we tried to encircle the Pentagon, but it was part of a larger, the biggest demonstration against the Vietnam War to that day. We met at the White House, and then thousands of people came. I can't remember the number. It's in my memoir. And then several thousand broke off at the end when everyone went home on buses and walked across this bridge to the Pentagon and tried to block the doors of the Pentagon. And some people did a levitation where they chanted and ohmed and tried to encircle, although they wouldn't let us all the way around because there were a lot of National Guardsmen there and all. So the levitation happened, but also I was the first mass civil disobedience. Over 800 of us got arrested. We stayed there for about a day, and we did a teach-in to the troops and asked them to join us. And then the police finally came and dragged more than 800 of us away and arrested us, which was the first time in my life that I got arrested, and not the last.
I want to say this was October 1967. I think we haven't mentioned the date, and there was, I think, about 50,000 people around the Pentagon, including significant figures like Phil Oakes and Norman Mailer and a number of people who are very well known. So please continue. I apologize for interrupting.
No, that's great. Thank you. Yeah. Well, there were a few people. I can't remember if it was, it's all in my book, but I think Dave Dellinger and a few of the really famous people, they crossed the line right away and got arrested. And then there were 800 of us sleeping over there on the ground. But yeah, that's right. That's all correct.
People who know their history about 1968 know that some of the people who came to Chicago to protest at the Democratic Convention were the Yippies. And you know something about that because your partner, Jerry Rubin, who I remember initially from Berkeley, meeting him at Berkeley. You were there along with Abby Hoffman and his wife, Anita, who I didn't know a lot about, but when I looked up a picture, I remember seeing her. Tell us about founding the Yippies. How did it come about? What was your intention?
So, off of that experience, when we were organizing for the Pentagon, it got a little hot between us and like the straighter elements of the peace movement.
Like SDS too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. SDS too. Everybody really, because the Yippies seem crazy to people. And we, we used 4-letter words and talked about LSD. It was controversial. So we decided that we wanted to be at the Democratic Convention in the summer of '68, and we were going to have a festival of life. And so we were talking about all that on New Year's Eve. We were stoned. We were in Abby and Anita's apartment, which was very underfurnished with, pillows and stuff like it was me, Anita, Abby, Jerry, and Paul Krasner from The Realist. And we were just brainstorming about what would happen, and we decided we wanted to have a festival of life as opposed to the Democratic Party's festival of death, because the Vietnam War was the Democrats' party at that time.
Yeah,
I mean, it was their thing. So we and then we just were sitting around brainstorming and talking about having the youth National Party. And somehow, I don't remember who said what, although I made it up in my book. We just came upon the name Yippie to shorten the youth. And because we didn't want to be a card-carrying party. We wanted to be, if you wanted to be a Yippie, you could be a Yippie. That's how it was. And so a lot of people became Yippies around the country in one way or another.
Pretty good.
That night was the origin of the Yippies. But the Yippies still reverberates today. It was interesting because my niece said she was listening to an interview on NPR last week, and a woman was saying that she had applied to be an ICE agent, and she got hired immediately without almost anything. And some guy called in and said, we should all, we should all go sign up for ICE and then not, and then clog up their system, or just go through with it all and then not show up to be ICE agents. He said that would be a really Yippie-like thing to do, and we need more of that. So I thought that's an example of how it still rings for people.
Of course, one of the things the Yippies were interested in was these absurd theatrical events to make Vietnam War and the politics look absurd.
Right.
And so,
And
after I heard you guys were putting LSD in the water, I went and took a drink, but nothing happened.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't there for this one, but they dropped money in Wall Street in the stock exchange, and we ran a pig for president.
Pegasus.
Pegasus, because why go for half a hog when you can have the whole hog? Yeah. So, and I didn't realize until I was writing the book that a lot of Yippie things in my life, I wasn't that much of a performer like Abby and Jerry were, but I really thought it was a great strategy, so I supported it all. But later in life, I just love theatrical protests. So like in Chicago during the Central America Wars, we dyed the river red because, in Chicago they dye it green at on St. Patrick's Day, but we dyed it red. Yeah. And we used biodegradable dye, I'll have you know. We went out in canoes and dyed the river red. And we put bloody, although they were red paint, hands on the federal building and all kinds of things like that. So,
well, that's all good. In reading your book, a number of things, it reminded me of a lot of things. It brought back memories. There were organizations that I hadn't remembered for a while. COFO, SANE, Women's International Peace and Freedom. And you mentioned one, you talk about a 1958 Youth March for Integrated Schools on D.C. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember that. I didn't know. I don't think I was that political. I mean, I was in high school.
Me too.
That was before me. And was that a CP, Communist Party organized event?
I think it was broader than that. I don't really, I'm sure they were involved, but I think it was broader than that. I helped organize a bus to go there. The reason I don't remember it is I have a diary from then. And when I wrote this, I read my diary. I wouldn't have remembered that I was there probably.
I have that happen to me too. A couple of other things that I remember, I remember the Economic Research and Action Projects, which we started one in Oakland in the summer of 65. You were in 65. You left Madison and went to Cleveland. It made me think a little bit about Madison and how many people came out of there and how, it really produced a lot of activists. And that magazine, I really loved Studies on the Left.
Yep.
And what I remember most from you, you were in Chicago for a good amount of time, and you were doing some prison work. And can you talk a little bit about that? Because I tried to find you for a while to get you to come talk about prisons on the show. And it doesn't seem to me like there's as much activism around people who are incarcerated as we had for a period of time.
No, I think there's more.
Good.
Because this was I think we started in 85, something like that. For 15 years, we did it. I started knowing people who were in prison is what happened, so especially Black comrades who were, my age, and in a parallel movement were ending up in prison. And I started visiting prisoners and seeing the conditions inside the prisons. And I always had a lens about racism that drove my work. And I saw prisons as like the very worst element of it, and specifically 24-hour-a-day solitary confinement over long periods of time. And there was a prison in downstate Illinois, Marion, this still is, that became the entire prison was locked down permanently. I won't describe it all. I wrote a book about it called Out of Control, and you can get it on Amazon, I think, still, I don't know, or Freedom Archives published it. So a lot of us were really concerned about it because there were political people that we knew that were in this 24-hour solitary thing. So we got together, Jan Sussler, who's an attorney in Chicago, myself, my late husband, Steve Whitman, and a few other people, and we just started doing work around it. And we did really great work, but it was really hard because people were so either it was just totally shrouded in secrecy, and it was very hard to shed light on it. But I think we did, and I think we planted seeds. So, like, for instance, a year during the pandemic, there's something at the University of Chicago called the Mass Incarceration Group or something. They called me and asked me to do a show, online, a Zoom about mass incarceration. And there are pockets of people all over the country doing work around it. Here in California, they got the California Coalition Against for Women's Prisoners got a prison shut down because the guards were abusing the women in the prison. This is just in the last couple of years. And so that prison got shut down, but now they're threatening to reopen that prison as an ICE detention center. And people here are going out. People here that do prison work are protesting that, along with people who are doing work against ICE. So a lot of the silos are falling here. People are joining together and doing the work. So I think it's on a broader platform, actually, than it was when I was doing the work.
One of the things that you mentioned at the outset before we started was you had wanted to read something regarding the war in Iran. Do you want to do it now?
Sure. Okay, so the great writer from the Indian subcontinent, Arundhati Roy, she was speaking this week at a meeting outside Delhi about her new memoir, Mother Mary Comes to Me. And she started by saying, and this is a quote, an excerpt from her speech, which you can see on YouTube, the whole of it. How can we end the day without talking about those beautiful cities of Tehran, Isfahan, and Beirut that are now up in flames? I would like to use this platform to say something about the unprovoked and illegal attack by the United States and Israel on Iran. It is, of course, a continuation of the U.S.-Israeli genocide in Gaza. It's the same old genocide using the same old playbook. Murdering women and children, bombing hospitals, carpet bombing cities, and then playing the victim. But Iran is not Gaza. The theater of this new war could expand to consume the whole world. We're on the brink of nuclear calamity and economic collapse. The same country that bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki could be readying itself to bomb one of the oldest civilizations of the world. There'll be other occasions to go into more depth, but so here I simply state that I stand with Iran unequivocally. Any regime that needs changing, including the United States, Israel, and India, needs to be changed by the people, not by some bloated, lying, cheating, greedy, resource-grabbing, bomb-dropping imperial power and its allies who are trying to bully the whole world into submission. That's the only part I wanted to say.
That's really good. It's very appropriate, and I'm going to look up that whole speech. Now, we only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to promote the book a little bit, The Levitating the Pentagon, which comes out on the 24th of March. You're going to be in Chicago. Welcome home, so to speak, or back to the center of the universe, as I like to say.
I agree.
You're going to be at the Pilsen Community Bookstore, 1531 West 18th Street on Thursday, the 9th of April, with Bill Ayers, another old friend, at 7 p.m. You're also going to be on April 4th, just before that. That would be Saturday, April 4th at 2 p.m. at Mercado, which is at 2959 West Division. Okay, correct. Good. So tell everybody on the Live from the Heartland show listener end here why they should read your book.
It's a good book for these times. But I want you to read my book, but more than that, these are precarious times. So enter into them enter into the resistance with open hearts, with open eyes, big hearts, and follow your own instincts. But do enter, because the time is now, the place is here, wherever you are, and get ready to be a long distance runner.
That's nice. Euan, you got anything you want to add to that?
I can't add to that. I just think it's I think one of the other things is what lessons from your life in activism, since the 60s through into the stuff with the prisons in the 80s and 90s, what lessons would you have for people today?
Let's see. That's a big one.
I know. I always find out people are reinventing the wheel sometimes.
I think young people are doing pretty good, actually. So just keep on. But I guess I would say, make sure to, build a big tent. Don't give in to the narcissism of small differences. Be generous. I remember my husband saying that in the 60s, he was for the war one day and the next day he was against it. So, don't shame people. Try to build a big tent. let the silos fall, because at this moment we have to see the interrelationships of things. We have to be against ICE, but we can't forget about Gaza and Iran now. See the connections between like the military and climate change, because they're right out there. It's the biggest purveyor of fossil fuel emissions. And what else? What I said, it's precarious times. Eyes open, heart big. Enter, find your voice. It doesn't have to be my voice. It has to be your voice. And there's all different ways to go about it. I like talking to people. So, my friend, four of us in my neighborhood knocked on 250 doors, back to the old SDS model. And, We've been making whistle packets in case ICE comes, and 35 people showed up. 40 people showed up for hot chocolate. 35 people showed up for whistle packets. Find out what you think of, what you think needs to be done, what your skills are, what you want to do. See where the overlap lies and try it.
Nancy Kurshan, thanks so much for coming on live from the Heartland. We want to thank everybody out there in our listener and viewing land for tuning in today.